And so today I'll give a general introduction of basically how's my role as a CTO positions under the companies, as well as overall of how we're solving some of the problems and the growing of the company. So just some general background. So Kura is an AR glass company. We're headquartered in the Bay Area. So we're making the world's best performing AR glasses. With magnitude higher performance than any of the existing devices, like 9 times of the field of view, 4 times of the transparency, with 8K resolution, which general other devices is 2K, and high brightness for both indoor and outdoor, in the form of a platform. So our team have 40 people right now, more than half of our team coming from MIT. So we have our team is a combination of both like young inventors, visionary entrepreneurs, as well as very experienced serious entrepreneurs and experienced technical people who have been in the industry literally for their whole life. So just a little bit more general background about myself. So besides being the founder of Kura AR, so I studied electrical engineering, computer science, and UC Berkeley, UC doing nanofabrication, and Stanford before. Before I started Kura, I was working on brain machine interface as one of the founding team member of UC Berkeley, brain machine interface groups. So there, I developing the like and dislike classifier based on real-time time series of brainwaves, and able to achieve the world's highest record of emotional predictions on like and dislike. We also build the sensors. And I'm also a self-taught nuclear engineers, which have working nuclear fusion reactors before, which I built in the garage. And also, I'm also a certificate Linux kernel developers. So my career shift from in the early stage, I was more on the software side, and I'm very interested in and working a lot of projects on Linux kernels, operating systems, embedded systems. And later on, shift a little bit more to the signal processing, machine learning, natural language processing side, and starting working on brain machine interface. From there, I starting access to more hardware, like working on project ranging all the way from Raman spectrometers, silicon devices, frequency module LiDAR. I'm working on UC Berkeley's for self-driving car with actually a custom ASICs. So basically, like I've been working from both hardware, softwares, optics that in the past. So and it's not easy. So basically all the way, so just look a little bit back from my careers or what I choose to do myself, all the way from like in schools to like the research project to the work I did to right now start Kura and what we're working on Kura. And it's not a very easy choice because it's not very conventional. Like especially me as a female and English is not my first language. That for me to study like all different engineering majors in school, in a public school, it's a little bit hard. So I had to, when I was in school, I had to actually build a bot to automatically click and select in the class in order to get into the class that I want to get into with which is like grad, which is more popular at grad levels. So I was also more an introvert person, like working on different engineering projects, doing research, and like writing code and don't talk with much people. So when I initially started my company, like I basically I don't really talk much with people. So I have to actually put myself out to get me socialize with people, starting all different clubs, starting multiple hacker house and multiple hacker community, including one of the largest hardware hacker community in the Bay Area, which I start. So those are not what I would do like originally if I don't plan to be an entrepreneur. And those really helps. So I have to like, there's a lot of advice I get. There's a lot of good ones, but there's also a lot of those which is not really good for my careers. And I have to very selectively listen to those, including take easy choice, like hardware startup is too hard, don't do it, things like that. So basically like I have to make a lot of decisions, which is sort of against the common sense for both myself, my company, and my product to get Kura this far. So a little bit background about like how I started Kura and how I grow, where I grew it to. So I started Kura back in 2015 and set a goal as building the like the world's best performance AR glasses. And because I truly believe AR is technology that's going to have the biggest impact in everyone's life in both this decade and next decade. And I started using AR glass initially when I was working on brain machine interface project. And I'm building a brainwave recognized machines with head-mount display. And at that moment, I realized when I try to collect more brainwave data for my machine learning, for training my machine learning recognition algorithms, then I realized no one is using this for anything besides medical and research. I realized why. It's because to get more data set, which is more than people doing research or doing medical or using it for medical, you need to make this accessible to everyone's life. That means it needs to get really portable. I need to provide people enough benefit for them to use in daily life, which means it have to come with a head-mount display. So no one will wear like 16 sensor, 5 sensor on your head to try to train it for the whole day without it being real-time feedback, being a helpful assistant for the person's daily life. So then at that moment, I started trying existing AR glass, talking with all different AR glass founders during that time. Then I realized just as a developer and user, I don't want to use any one of those devices. So the field of view is very small, it's blue light leaking everywhere. It's very thick, all of the issues. I don't even want to wear this on my head for 5 minutes. How do I expect people to wear this on their head for 5 hours in a day? So then I realized the biggest problem for AR is optics. We need to solve that problem first. So I think, so just a general, as a CTO, founding CTO and CEO of Kura, it's really important for us to set the goal. What's our long-term mission, where we want to go to in 5 years, in 10 years, where is company eventually going to lead the society change in 20 years. It's really easy to ignore those from beginnings, but those end up to be the very important guidelines for us from starting company to now. It's also really important for us to test all the devices to know what's the current status of technologies, all the way from commercials, militaries to enterprise, and see what's the problems. I really talk with the users and listen to users' feedback and see why people don't make those changes, like what blocks them and why, like what does people actually need. And starting and also, as I mentioned, it's like became more social to know more people. So that a lot of them actually became like my founding team members. Some of them became my co-founders, my investors, and a lot of them actually started using Kura early stage, became early testers. So today, so I started Kura in 2015, and today we are able to grow Kura from initially just me, one person, to 40 people teams that headquarters in the Bay Area, and we have some top industry leading investors all the way from HTC Vive, who is a top players in VR. You see Berkeley Skydeck, House Fund, Inventions, the government. Numerous investors, all the way from world's top 15 billionaires, as well as to some top telecommunications semiconductor fund, and one of the head of one of the world's largest AR companies, actually as well. So we have done POCs with one of the world's largest automotive companies, and we have working prototypes. We have a 10,000 square foot office with labs in the Bay Areas, and more important, we have paid orders from over 350 companies, which are 100% inbound interest to us, with a total demand of over 500,000 units in writing. So as I mentioned, like Kura is also the winner of both CES Innovation Award and Best CES Award. That helps us a lot to bring more attractions, to connecting us to more developers, users, and other international partners. So starting Kura, and it's really important that we, as a hardware startup, that we focus our initial resource on the critical milestones. So that means, like, if you only have $500,000, if you only have like 5 million, how do you use those money? You can easily blow those monies on a lot of things. And it's very important for us as people can, like, building a hardware product costs like successful launch of hardware product could literally cost like 50 million or even more. And there's a lot of other AR companies raise a lot of more money than us did. So it's really important that we focus those on the core inventions, the core product features, core critical milestones, especially in an emerging tech market. And it's really important for us to do a brute force in supply chains, brute force in competitors, to make sure we understand everything that everyone is developing, and make sure we understand the pro and cons of all different components, and make sure we talking with all the vendors, we have alternatives of the components, so we don't go single source on any supply chains. And also important is like, don't be afraid to fix mistakes. I mean, including like mistake myself made and mistake like that my teammates. So like sometimes you feel like, oh, I spent 3 months on this project, and this does now seems to be the right client for us. Like, don't be afraid to drop those off and focus on what you should actually be focused on. And also be very open-minded is quite important. So because I actually learned quite a lot after like starting working on AR, starting working on Kura, about the industry, about how different people using our devices, which in medical, in film production, all of those more than what I originally know. And like a lot of people say work smart, not work hard. It does not working for us. Like we need to work smart and also working very hard. So second point I want to talk about is growing multi-disciplinary team, which is very critical for Kura. In order to solve today's industry biggest bottlenecks, that including like small field of view, low transparency, low brightness, that's not working outdoors, very heavy, and like the headset's really uncomfortable to wear. So we really have to invent the whole system from the ground up. Basically from the chip levels to the optics, to the software to generating those optics. So we have 3 parts of our core technology, including structured geometry waveguide, customized micro LED display, customized display driver ICs, ASICs, multiple customized silicons in the system to enable this system. If we just doing one thing or the other, but not all of those, we won't able to enable our performance. It's only when you have enough variables and you design those towards the manufacturer standard, and those working together, and you can achieve magnitude result better than if you're just making like improvement on one single components, which is what we did differently from basically everyone else in the AR industry. So besides the hardware parts, we also have overall platform we're launching. So our device is AR/VR switchable. It have eye tracking functionalities with 9-degree freedom head trackings, surface detections, working with both standalone and working with PC, as well as it coming with a software system with the device, including like the SDK, as well as a collaborative visualization app and the user analytics functions that tell the designer of the app how users react to their content. So those SDK and APIs enable companies like Tesla, General Motors, and others to developing the app directly, their content directly, without worry about surface detections, environmental trackings, where the person is looking at. Those tell the application if the driver falls asleep while driving. Those critical features. So like here, just to don't try to race through this, a lot of information, but this is building function blocks of Kura's headset. Within here is our core display optical system. So this including customized silicons, customized display, customized optics, software to generating the optics, our SDK, integration with other devices. So those are the reasons that why we need a very multidisciplinary team, ranging from like optical design, chip design, display, mechanical engineering, software engineering, electrical engineer, system engineers, design for manufacturing, like process development, product design, and even more. And so a lot of people say it's very hard to build all of those in-house. And we actually like working with a lot of partners to taking available resources. So we're, for example, like we're able to working with existing camera vendors. We don't build anything. We don't build our own camera. We build a board, but we're using existing image sensor camera reference design. So, but for the chip and optics display system, it's all our core IP. So to me, it's important that in the past, I have experience as myself as a hands-on software engineer, electrical engineer, optical engineers, and R&D engineers, and working on difficult projects and before Kura, because those gave me the extensions of ability to see how difficult project in the like in those areas, although it's not exactly in the AR field, to get from beginning to the finish, and able to working with some top talent in the past in those areas, helping setting the bar of the working standard of like in both like operations as well as technicals. And able to hire core tech lead managers in those areas who have more experience than I do in each of those areas, especially chip design, semiconductor process is really important because those industries to design like a very mature chip without any mistakes on the first round really takes experience. And so we post job on LinkedIn and we use recruiters. So not all recruiter working for us, but we are able to find those that will work pretty well for us. And able to identify different talent groups, like what are the communities that have good talent. And we have access to, some of those are from myself, some of those are from Kura's advisors, other employees, and our partners. And so design a good onboarding and interview process is really important for us. Initially, we have hustled it quite a lot. When we interview like talents, we sometimes have like 50 talents. We have to go through the resume and we're struggle to what to interview those on. So we have to design an interview question and task pool for like software engineers, optical engineers, all of those. So on each areas, we make sure those tasks test out the critical talent. Sense of responsibilities, speed of learning, and basic skills on different programming language, different using of different tools. So those are really important. So we can just pull up this task from this task pool for its talent, so we can move along with our interview process much faster, and have a streamlined standards within a couple of our lead engineers. How do we conduct the interview? So and also understand what each person's looking for when they join Kura, and what's their interest, what's their both interest in their technical skill working, as well as what they are looking for in the long term in the missions, and like how their living habit is like this person like to come in office, collaborate with everyone, or this person really function well for their job functionalities working remote. And hire slow and fire fast is really important. If we see any bad signs, or like this person does not working for us, the better is to let the person go. And the longer you drag along, the longer the problem it could cause. So here is our current leadership team. Like as I mentioned, so we were able to grow this from originally just me, one person, to like 40 people team. 3 of our lead engineers have over 400 patents. So we realize when you have the good founding team, when you have the critical important problems to solve, you're able to attract a really good talent pool. Just like, for example, like one person of our team could bring 5 more talent, which some of those talents are some smartest engineer in the world. So because Kura have a very good foundation start as a very strong engineering and product team, so we're able to attract some of the world's top talent to come and working with us. So a lot, like in order to do a like working in emerging tech field, a lot of time lot of technical inventions as well as unconventional decision making have to be made on the business side. So AR is a very large market. It have all different use cases ranging from automotive design, 3D design, visualizations, remote calibrations, entertainment, and more. The total market size is very big. The consumer market size is even bigger. So existing AR have a lot of problems. So AR is not really a new field. It had been there for decades. People started using AR in militaries for training, pilot training, all of those. But existing AR all the way from like HoloLens, Magic Leap, like the performance is very similar to each other. And you can basically summarize the existing technology with four different threads. They're all similar to each other. They all suffering from the problem like you cannot make eye contact. The transparency is less than 25%. It's basically worse than wearing dark sunglasses. Like you can't really using AR while using your computer at the same time because you can't really see through. It's not safe to using it in on the workplace, and you cannot really using in like art galleries because you can't see the art anymore. So all of those problems cost so basically, like people today using it already in sense of automotive design, which we did a POC with General Motor before. Existing AR they're using, you can only see a small part of the car. You need to move your head around in order to scan to see the whole car. This is like for almost every single existing AR glasses. Not just this, but the transparency, the lack of brightness, the low resolutions, and the bulkiness. So, but what they really want to see is able to see a whole car in one shot, and this is what Kura is providing, which is very different from a lot of people like in the AR industry talk about. So, And the performance on our first product surpass basically all the existing competitors. The reason is because we don't just look at competitors and copy paste. We actually listen to the user, what do they want, and look at technologies and a manufacture method for production, see what we can do today. So here you can see the performance comparison between Kura's and our existing headsets, like Microsoft HoloLens and Magic Leap. The field of view of us goes all the way to the edge, working outdoors and much more transparent. So here is a demo, and you can also see it on our website. It's probably a little bit lagging because I played through the Wi-Fi and streaming. So, but you can check this video on the website. It's all directly shooted on Kura's existing prototypes with all customized optics and hardware. So we also add gesture input, so you can interacting with different things like computer vision, so you can do fraud detections. So I'm just going to run a bit faster. Okay. So basically, so as I mentioned, like we have to do a lot of new inventions from the ground up to enable this. So some more specific, we build our to build our structured geometry waveguide of the IPs. We have to build our own optical optimization tool, which have never done before, using AI. It's a nonlinear optimization. It's the existing optical optimization tool like Code Fiber is in Max is 1,000 times slower to run our system. That means if we start using that to optimize our IPs, we would have a design in 3 years and it won't work. So we built this from the ground up. And this is 1,000 times faster than any of the tools, and all our optics can be designed. And this is a very critical step towards our product. So we are also designing architecture that we're able to do 100 times X pixel expansions. So as I mentioned, we're doing 8K resolution, but no existing micro LED can provide 8K resolutions. So we have to come out with some smart ways in the backplanes, in the ASICs, as well as the overall optical system to able to show 8K times 6K image using less than 500,000 pixels. And micro LED also suffering from higher depth pixel rate. So we have designed our system to fix that pixels on the fly and replace them with working pixels, as well as using zero color combiners, that our system is much more complex than anyone else. So we're able to tolerate over 10,000 times higher data pixel rate to enable to use the AR to enable to use the micro LED display that is manufacturable today, which this push us 5 to 10 years ahead of competitions to go to production. So compare with other companies, and you can see the performance is significantly better in all those sectors. And here is like we have been fully proved from basically all our clients that this is exactly what they want, because there is over 300 companies reaching out to us, like over 350 companies reaching out to us and putting orders and contract and even more future orders. So, and we have over 10 patents files on the systems. And so, as you can see, there is a huge amount of decisions we have to make that is different from anyone else. So to us, AR is an emerging technology similar to the early times of like iPhone, similar to the early times of smartphones. And there is a lot of technologies like the Gorilla Glass for iPhone, like the Neo sensors, a better chips. All of those need to be invented in iterations of product to enable this. So instead of copy and paste all the other existing AR glass, similar as a lot of other company does, we look at the optical system, we look at the display system, look at the components and the semiconductor manufacturing method, and design all of those from the ground up. And a lot of people say is that you can do both silicons and doing both a platform, but that end up to the best way for us. So next, we're talking about the organization, company organization for scale. So so in order to move fast as a startups, so we really need to make critical hires, like in the key hires in the critical areas. So it's a lot of those talent is very rare to find, especially like display engineers, chip designers, optical engineers. So we need to able to identify this and move on those fast. And also more important, besides the technical hire, to set up good operation systems for the companies, including legal, HR, marketing, PR is really important for startups. So the product team can able to focus on the product. Don't have to worry about like anything else. So And working with a good lawyer is really important. And as startups, like you make sure you like review all the contract you're signing, especially for IP critical startups. So we also partner with core vendors, manufacturers, resource partners from early stage as in-kind partners. So we're able to book timelines and manufacture schedules ahead. That is really critical, like especially right now, there's a semiconductor shortage right now. So and able to focus on the critical parts using limited resource to create more values using the money we raised to generating more of what money cannot buy is always being critical for us. And it's also important to avoiding these distractions because as an early stage startup, you could get a lot of requests to do this, to do that. And like sometimes if you respond to all of those, you won't able to get your to-do list for this week now. And it's really important to able to identify those and stay in focus. So like as I mentioned before, it's really also important to manage the like cost, the budget, and also like fundraising is really critical for startups, especially for hardware startups. And it takes time. It's very time consuming, and it usually take one or multiple person full time to do it. And it's always good to budget with buffer, so you won't run out of money, or like you always have enough times and resource and always plans ahead. So here is some of our leadership teams from like Bailey, Gregory, Mark, Chuck Alger, and Dr. Kobos. And like, so Gregory is an early Kura investor turned into our full-time COO. And both Mark and Bailey and Dr. Kobo went to MIT. Mark is a founding CTO of Leapfrog, which they IPO'd for over billings, and his second company, which invented DSL, got acquired by Texas Instrument. Chuck have 2080 years experience at Intel. He was previously the head of supply chain from Microsoft HoloLens. And here is more of our team with Boston and other weeks. And it's really important to set up not just your team structures, but as well as your manufacturer structures from beginning. So Kura had been successfully tape out our initial chips, customized micro LEDs and ASICs. We received a bunch of wafers all the way from January to recently. And we're happy to announce our first tape out is a full success, this is really thanks to our IC team, because sometimes a company buffers 2 times for a tape out. But because our IC team is really experienced with all the process and design, so we're able to hit it correctly with a very tight timeline. Here is some ASICs you can see. Here is some of our customized wafers. And here is our customized micro LED wafers and with some test patterns on that. And here is in our test facility. So we're basically partners. A lot of our suppliers, including one of the world's leading optical manufacturers, became our investor from early stage. And those support are really critical to our success. So then we talk about a product market fit. And so I'm going to go through this comparable quick. And so we launched our website and we did demos, presentations, at various trade shows. So we are able to get a huge amount of inbound interest from a lot of companies, which including the paid orders from over 350 companies. Some of the largest smartphones, computer companies, automotive companies, film production companies, and multiple government programs are all our flagship account customers, including HTC Vive became one of our customers, as well as one of the world's largest automotive companies is investing in our current round. So basically we're able to fully validate with the customers in the early stage that those features are exactly what they want, including like the biggest market we're going for is global telepresence. A lot of people talking about this, including Microsoft, Zoom, and Cisco's, but existing AR really fail to providing it. And so Kura is providing a global telepresence platform that we're able to enable just as in-person meetings is like Zoom plus PowerPoint, but in 3D through our platform. And we're able to validating this as a correct use of the major market and working with top clients, including Fortune 500, to launch our initial applications and SDK. So it's really important to working directly with the customers because we learn a huge amount through our POCs contract and directly working with our customers in their factory space and see how they use it in different things, all the way from automotive designs to others. Including one of the use case that one of the automotive partner is using for driving reaction time testing. So they need to see the accident coming at them from the peripheral vision to simulate that. They need to run it for hundreds to thousands times before they're able to push a changing of the car, like up to directly to the product, because they need to see if that influence the people's reaction time to accident. But without the big field of view, you really just can't do that use cases. And so it's really important for us to also know the customer's workflows to design a software system to make sure they're onboarding smoothly.
Kelly,
So
I'm sorry
thanks
to
everyone. Yeah.
cut you off, but yeah, I'll let you finish this, but I'm gonna need to cut you short so we can move on to
Oh
our
yeah, this
next
is
speaker.
actually just last slides. Yeah.
Absolutely. Go. I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you know. I don't know if you have any final thoughts or if you want to share with everyone where they can, reach out to you or connect with you.
Oh, yeah. So if you have any questions or interest in what we're working on, feel free to reach out to us and founders at Kura Tech.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Kelly. That was some really cool technology and products that y'all are working on. So I'm definitely looking forward to kind of learning a little bit more, and I'll connect with you offline. So thank you for joining us today. Any final
Yeah.
thoughts?
Uh, I think so. Let me see. So if you are working on any AR use cases, we are looking forward to hear from you, as well as Kura is hiring for all different roles. So if you are interested or know anyone is interested, feel free to reach out to us.
Great. Well, thank you. I hope you have a great day. And yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah.